Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome, everybody, to another glorious episode of the Put On Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with my co-host, Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting out the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. Why I keep doing that? PORSBR is my Twitter handle, and then Ryan is RHOLM22. Ryan, how you doing today?
Good. It's the week rested edition. We had a bye week here, so we didn't have any film, anything to break down, and got some rest. So
no
off week from here on out,
and also nothing to get mad about, frustrated about, I guess, as you will. Let's go. So some of the cities that are listening to the podcast, we got folks in Winnipeg, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Sacramento, California, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Go Phillies. Sorry saying that. Sorry, I'm a Giants fan. The Padres did their job. I'm good with that one. Columbus, Ohio, Virginia Beach, Virginia, Carmel, Indiana, Temecula, California, Westfield, Massachusetts, Barrington, Rhode Island, Los Gatos, California, Meriden, Idaho, and Melbourne, Australia. So thank you for listening to that. Australia, baby. We got a question from Australia too, so maybe it's the same person. So the NFL never played a game out there, right? Have they? Did I know they go to Germany?
I don't know if they have or not.
Australia? They didn't go across the pond to go to Australia. So subscribe, dislike, whatever you want. Go ahead and leave a comment, questions, 5-star reviews, all that good stuff, and please and go ahead and do that. So first and 10, we had a bye week, so I want to do like a little quick first and 10 segment here where we just talk about like around the NFL before we hit the Raiders and the Texans. What are your thoughts about, we're in week 7 now in National Football League? What are your kind of your comments of like maybe not just the AFC West, but what kind of things that kind of stuck out to you around the league?
I think the biggest takeaway so far is the AFC is just a giant cluster of a bunch of teams that within a game or two of each other, because we knew it would be tough in the AFC. There's a lot of good teams, a lot of talented quarterbacks, but no one's really running away with it other than Buffalo and maybe Kansas City. The other divisions are all mashed together. And I think on the flip side, the NFC East that no one thought would be any good, you got 3 teams with one loss or better in that division. So it's like bizarro world. We all thought the AFC West would be great, and turns out so far through 6 weeks, it's the NFC East, and the AFC West is kind of out there. And, 3 teams are a little bit struggling. The Chargers were able to pull out a couple of close games after some bad decisions by Brandon Staley, but some missed field goals have helped them from their opponents. And then I think the AFC North, I thought Baltimore would win that division. They're kind of struggling to finish games, again, with some questionable 4th down calls. No one's really running away that. Cincinnati's come back to the pack. The Steelers somehow beat the Buccaneers with a rookie quarterback, and the Mitch Trubisky had to come in. So a lot of the favorites that we thought in the AFC haven't really put it together. And then on the other side of the NFC, you're kind of seeing, Minnesota, who I had as a playoff team, kind of pulling away a little bit from Green Bay, but Philadelphia. That's the story of the season so far to me, is the Eagles, what the Eagles have been able to do. We knew their schedule was a cakewalk for the first 10 weeks, but they're handling business. They're winning the games they're supposed to win, and then they beat the Cowboys to get a little separation from them.
Yeah, I think for me is I kind of go back to like the Reggie McKenzie era, and I get why somebody comes in and wants to blow it up and start over, but at some point, like when you blow it up and start over, those losses become yours, right? And if McDaniels doesn't turn this around, he can say whatever he wants about Gruden and his picks. People are going to say that team's not that bad, and you got some star players at levels of that team. So why aren't you winning games? And I think Brian Daboll had every reason to go into New York and say, hey, I just want to blow this up. I mean, I got this dude at quarterback. He embraced the job. He embraced the moment. And now the team is playing really good football. And they're in every game. They're beating, star quarterbacks. They're beating Aaron Rodgers. They're beating all these teams. And I got to give him a lot of credit. I give the being the GM a lot of credit. And they're playing hard nosed, tough football. And they're in every game and they're finding ways to win close games. And I think one thing is I'm not sure if you saw. I think Matt Holder had that like really funky design by Wink Martindale on how to blitz when he blitzed the quarterback. We had everybody lined up at one spot. But I think those are kind of things that I look at. He is being aggressive on defense because they're running the football, and the resurgence of the running back there as well has been a huge factor in what they do. I would never thought at any point in the season, maybe after week 2, that the Giants would be in second place. I just really don't. I really can't imagine that. And I think one thing is the question. One of the questions I have for Ryan too is like, hey, do you believe that in this NFL season are Rodgers and Brady, two stalwarts, two great all-time quarterbacks, are they done? It's early in the season and you don't want to predict them, but like they have looked pretty pedestrian and bad. Now, as bad as they've looked, I think the Raiders would love to be 3-3, but but they have looked pretty bad early on this year.
I don't know if I'd say done. I'd say Brady's probably closer to the end, obviously being 45 years old and struggling to drive the ball down the field. Aaron Rodgers, I think, is a completely different issue. He's playing with a bunch of young guys, first, second-year receivers that are having to learn the system on the fly. And obviously, he has an issue with the system. He's brought up, hey, we need to simplify it. He's made a lot of comments in the media the last 2 weeks. Green Bay needs to go back and run the football and give him a chance till those receivers are comfortable out there. But Tom Brady, I mean, his guys for the most part are out there.
They're healthy.
The offensive line's been an issue. The protection's been an issue, but Leonard Fournette's been out there. Godwin's been out there the last couple of weeks. Mike Evans has been out there other than the game he missed due to the fight or the on-field suspension with Lattimore. They got him Russell Gage. Like, he has weapons outside. I'd be more concerned about the Buccaneers at this point than I am the Packers, although the Packers better pick it up because Minnesota's running away with that division out. I think they're 5-1.
They're 5-1, and depending on, look at the, we'll see. We can check out the Vikings schedule real quick. They might not. Let's just see who they're playing real quick before we go to the Raiders. We'll go to Raiders. Promise.
I will make a comment on your McDaniels. I'm almost positive. Now, we weren't in the interview with Mark Davis, but Josh McDaniels did not go into that interview and say, yes, we need to learn how to win. We need to learn how to do this. We got to get rid of Farrell. We got to get rid of Abram. We got to trade these guys. We got to get rid of Leatherwood. We got to move on from all these draft picks, and we need to rebuild, and it's going to take time. Because if he would have said that to Mark Davis, he never would have got the job.
Exactly. Very true. Very true. So they got Cardinals, Commanders, and Bills coming up next. And then the Cowboys, Patriots. So it gets a little bit harder. The Jets are good. The Lions are feisty. They got the Colts, Giants. So they got some tough games coming up here as well too, but they go 500.
They have a first-year coach too.
Yeah, first-year coach. And
we're hearing all these excuses coming out of Las Vegas, but there's first-year coaches with 5-1 teams.
And you mean a first-year coach and a quarterback learning a system for the first time, and they're winning games in the process? That's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. I'm not sure if that's possible or legal.
You could throw the Dolphins in there until Tua got hurt. They were off to a fast start. So you have Dable, you have McDaniel. In Miami, you have O'Connell in Minnesota. They're not complaining about a new system with a new star wide receiver and all these things that are going on. Like, they're not complaining about the deficiency on their roster like you're hearing come out of Vegas. That's kind of the one takeaway that I have from it. Like, let's stop saying we need to learn to do this, we need to do that. Just win football game. Just win, baby. That's the motto.
Exactly. And none of these teams are whole. Like they're like people like Minnesota's not whole, Miami's not whole. So the Giants definitely aren't whole. Like
definitely aren't even half.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think one last thing on the Vikings. I do think in years past at Miami, dome team in the heat, that's a game they usually would lose. So I give them credit for that victory in Miami. I know who they're playing against. It's not really, but it doesn't really matter. Like usually that's a game they actually lose in the past. So let's go to one question real quick. There's been a lot of talk about Carlos wants to know. There's been a lot of talk about Max Crosby possibly winning Defensive Player of the Year. Is that like something we see that's possible? I think he's playing great football. I think that winning helps, but I don't necessarily think it's the end all be all. But I do think he has a possibility of doing it. But for some reason, if some of the bigger names are winning, like if Von Miller or somebody like that, keeps getting sacks, keeps getting pressure in games that matter, I think they might go with somebody else.
Yeah, they have to win. And right now, Micah Parsons comes to mind.
Yep.
And unless Crosby starts, getting strip sacks that are resulting in fumbles or you return for touchdowns, like big highlight reel plays, no one's going to win the defensive player of the year on a team that wins, 6 or 7 games. They're going to have to get to 9, 10, and he's going to have an absurd stat line if they're going to finish second or third in the division.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't Andre Dawson on the 1987 Cubs winning it on the last place team. That's not going to happen. Unless he finishes with 22, 23 sacks and 7 or 8 forced fumbles on a team that wins 5 or 6 games, he's not going to win it, no matter what the stats are. Yeah. It's got to be like record-setting stats on a losing team.
True. Jonathan Abram and Clelin Ferrell according to, and that wasn't Palacero, I think it was Jeremy Fowler. Jeremy Fowler said that down there on the trading deadline, trading block. I mean, for a bag of chips, like, 6th round pick, maybe. But I don't see anybody. Why would anybody give up anything for those two when you consider that if you really were interested in them, you can just sign them for an incentive-related deal in the offseason?
Yeah, I'd be shocked if someone traded for Ferrell, one, because of the contract. So it's prorated $10 million. So if someone trades for him in the middle of the season, they have to have $5 million in cap room, and they'd be willing to pay him $5 million, knowing that you're not getting a ton of production from him. He's not a plug and play pass rusher. He's a run stopper. I think the Raiders would trade him for a 7th round pick if they could get it. At this point, I wouldn't do that. I would hold on to him in case you have an injury. He can fill a role on this roster, which to me is more important than the 7th round pick, especially if they want to go on a run here. Abram, to me, is a little more expendable. I probably wouldn't trade him either for a 6th or 7th round pick. I'd hold on to him. He hasn't been a huge liability this year. He hasn't made game-changing plays, but the Raiders are a big nickel team. Like, if you remove him off, you don't have depth at safety. And then who's going to go out and play that big nickel spot? Because they're down. They don't have corners right now. There's a bunch of injuries out there. So my guess is if that happened, if they did move him, you would see Diablo slide out most likely into that big nickel role. And then play Blake Martinez, Jayon Brown, and Denzel Perryman as kind of your rotating 2 or 3 of those guys. But I just think because you had the injury to Merrick, and is Harmon going to hold up for 17 weeks? He's an older veteran. Like, they really, other than them, they have Teamer and Palomau on the practice squad. Like, I don't see the value in moving on from him for a 6th or 7th round pick.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So we had Averett, and then Turner and Monroe return to the practice field again. Waller and Renfro been kind of on and off, and actually for Waller's, he's been off, and Raider Twitter want to trade him for a bag of chips now, as far as Waller goes. But Turner, obviously the return game has been atrocious. We've been talking about that forever. So hopefully he can kind of step in and do something and get Cole back to the spot where he needs to be, because I don't want Cole returning kicks at all. It's like terrifying watching him. But Moreau, again, let's see, another opportunity here, because it doesn't sound like Darren Waller's going to play Sunday against the Texans. Another opportunity here to kind of fill a big void at tight end and be a primary pass catcher as far as the Raider tight ends go.
Yeah, I would expect at this point Waller's not going to play. He hasn't practiced. It was reported by Jim Trotter yesterday that it's more likely than not that he's just not going to play this week. He's going to give it another week off. Renfro's concerning because he did practice Wednesday, and then all of a sudden he showed up with a hip today. On Thursday, we'll see if he's a go tomorrow. If he doesn't go tomorrow, he's probably not going to play in this game either, which is going to hurt, because now you're looking at maybe bringing up Albert Wilson. You're counting again on Matt Collins and Devontae Adams to play a ton of snaps. You can't really go big personnel with 2 tight ends because you're not going to have Waller. So if Waller and Renfro don't play, you're probably going to see a lot of 21 personnel here with 2 backs and 1 tight end. You may see the 6 linemen. It's really going to limit what they can do offensively if they don't have Renfro in this game.
And on the practice squad, there's no other tight ends, right, except for Fotheringham?
Yeah, there's no one that they're going to bring up, I wouldn't think, at this point.
So, yeah, no, so that's not good. That's not good news at all.
You're going to have 2. You're going to have Horsted and Moreau.
And Moreau, that's it. Raiders after a bye. You want to hear Raiders after a bye in recent memory?
It's a bad number.
A bad number. So 2017 after a bye, 38-8 loss to the Patriots. 2018 after a bye, 42-28 loss to the Colts. 42-24 loss to the Packers. A lot of 40s here. 40 ounces. It's like old school rap. 45-20 loss to the Buccaneers, and then 23-16 loss to the Giants last year. So how do they break this trend of just coming out and just stinking up the joint after the bye week? Because they've been doing that pretty consistently.
Well, this team has more talent than those other teams. Like a lot of those teams weren't good. They won 3-4 games in a season. So I don't think that's going to roll over one season to the next. This is a new staff, different rosters, different opponent. I mean, they're not running up against the Buffalo Bills this week or, a powerhouse. The Philadelphia Eagles aren't coming to town. They're playing the Houston Texans. So I think the key to this game is, first and foremost, they have to stop Dameon Pierce. If the Texans can't run the football and the Raiders have a good run defense and Davis Mills has to drop back, I think the Raiders are going to be able to get some turnovers here. He's thrown 4 interceptions this year. He's been sacked 12 times. So if they can make them one-dimensional, the Raiders should win this game.
As far as like your breakdown here, I took the offensive side of the ball, you took the defensive side of the ball. So what are Raiders defense you thinking are going to do against Davis Mills and this potent Texans offense?
Well, I think first and foremost, like I said, in early downs, the Raiders need to commit to stopping the run. If the Texans come out and go play action and start throwing the ball over the field, then so be it. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to come out and try to establish the run with Dameon Pierce, who's been their bell cow. He's averaging 4.8 yards a carry. He's got over 400 yards. They don't have a ton of skill position players on this roster, so that's why I don't think they're going to do that. And the Raiders are thin on the back end, but it sounds like you're going to have Averett play opposite of Yasin. You still have Robertson. You still have Sam Webb. There's still some pieces there. And again, they're going to play a lot of big nickel with Abram playing that kind of slot defender on early downs. So get this team into down and distance. If the Raiders if you want to create turnovers and get after the passer, it has to be 2nd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8. They can't let them run the ball and get into 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 2nd and 2, and then get the play action game going. So I expect them to load the box a little bit here. I don't know if Patrick Mahomes is willing to play a lot of cover 1 and cover 3 in this game and kind of, get that extra guy in the box and that underneath coverage. But I think they're going to need to. I think you can't let Davis Mills just throw the ball to the running backs. Because if you look at their receivers, the running backs, Rex Burkhead is their 2nd leading receiver. Dameon Pierce is their 4th leading receiver. They only have 4 guys with over double-digit catches. So he's either going to push the ball outside to Braden Cooks, and that's kind of my concern if you play a lot of cover 1 or cover 3. But you would hope at this point that Rock Ya-Sin can man up and play Braden Cooks one-on-one. If he can't, then you have bigger issues. So I think they're going to do that. I think you're going to get another safety in the box. I think that they're going to try to stop the run. And then playing cover 3, you got 4 underneath defenders. Take away that underneath stuff. Play some cover 2, get 5 underneath defenders. You can't let them run the ball and dink and dunk on you. You're going to have to make this Texans team that's not very good play explosive over the top. And on 3rd down, they're not good at all. They're 19 of 65 on 3rd downs. They're at 29%. So the Raiders should have some opportunities to get after the passer, and I think Max Crosby's going to eat. I think Chandler Jones might struggle a little bit. Laramie Tunsil's a really good left tackle still in this league. So I don't think he's going to have consistent pressure, but move these guys around, bring some blitzes, come after them, attack the B gaps. That's where I would go. I would try to attack these guards, try to split the guards and the tackles, and just bring pressure when you need to, and especially on 3rd and long. I would bring pressure against this team and try to make them get rid of the ball quickly. I'm not going to sit back, rush 3, play zone, and let them complete 12 and 15-yard passes on 3rd and 10. So that's what I would do. We'll see what the Raiders do.
Yeah. So the Texans defensively are giving up 5.1 yards per carry. So they're giving up 5.1 yards per carry. The Raiders have Josh Jacobs. That just the common sense is there. And then they're giving, I think they're 30th in the league. I think they're giving up 164 yards of rushing as well, too, as a team. So they're not good against the run. A little bit better against the pass, but I think Stingley's having a decent year, and then the safety Jalen Petrie is having a good year at safety. But I think the one thing, because right now the Carr to Adams situation is still kind of up in the air. I think it's only, I think there was 53% of his targets are being completed. I do think while it is important to run the football and have balance, and I think they will do that. I think that we can't continue to have games, the Raiders, that is, with him having like 3 catches. Like, this isn't the first. You're playing Lovie Smith. It's cover 2 nation. Like, you know what you're gonna see. Like, he is. I think Derek Carr has seen cover 2 before, and I think so is Devontae Adams. He's so the plays are gonna be there. You have to dial up plays where you just get him. I want to see the dreads flying early. Like, I mean, get him involved early, get him involved often, and then everything else is just gonna open up the garage, open up anyway, because I don't really want to run the football from with the extra linemen. Like, yeah, if we need to in short yardage, okay, fine, but I don't. That's not like you can't even play. I could play action off of that because it ends up being only 2 people in a route. So like you have to really get that connection. You got him here for a reason. So like, let's start seeing it now, where like you had a week off as a play caller to kind of go back and do some things. I mean, I got to really watch the NFL ticket and see Zappy have 300 yards passing with with those guys calling plays. Like, you're supposed to be a top play caller. I think it's time to get that done. The running game is going to come. They're gonna have gashing runs against this defense with Josh Jacobs, and this last 3 weeks. I mean, he probably needed a break because he was tremendous against the Broncos, tremendous against the Chiefs. But my concern is that, with Jacobs too, is like, I'm just worried about his health, and with basically no carries by anybody else, that makes me worried, because if he ever went down, I think we texted about it. Like we're sitting here looking at like Brandon Bolden back there running the football. Let's hope not. So yeah, White. I mean, let him run the football from the same spots that Jacobs does, and let's see if he can get some runs down the field, because he has a little bit more quickness, or a little bit more speed than Josh Jacobs. But the Carr, I don't want to make it all about Carr, all about Adams, but like, this is supposed to be Stafford and Rice. I mean, sorry, Stafford and Cup. Like, at least on a little bit lesser level, and it's not been that right now.
I think the advantage here is you have to attack the secondary. I know they can't stop the run, but you have Steven Nelson, you have Stingley's a rookie,
yes,
Jonathan Owens, and Jalen Petry's a rookie. Now, you don't want to test those guys a ton, especially Petry and Stingley, but you can't not go after them. They're rookies. You're going to get the calls, pass interference. But if Renfro doesn't play, I'm putting Adams in the slot the whole game. Like, I'm going to match him up. I'm going to get him on Owens. I'm going to get him on Blake Cashman. I'm going to get him on Christian Kirksey. There's no way they're covering him if he's in the slot. And then I'll take my shots outside when I get down into the red zone, with some fade passes against some of these rookies, and just try to scheme him up. But there's no reason why he's not in the slot at least half the passing attempts this week, and he gets 15 targets. Like, these linebackers can't cover. So the middle of the field should be wide open for Moreau. It should be wide open for Adams. They do need to run the football, but I think with this defense, if they want to run it first and try to get them out of cover 2 and make them put the 8th guy in the box, that's going to open everything up. But I wouldn't wait. Like, if it's a series or 2 and you're not running the ball very well, I'm going to throw the ball in this defense, because I'm not going to walk out of my home field with that secondary and not give Devontae Adams 15 targets.
Yes. I mean, I'm talking about, I want like the Waller targets from the Baltimore opener. Like, that's what you have to do. I mean, he's built for it. He wants the ball all the time. So just give it to him. Like, you just give it to him. I mean, even and like the last touchdown he caught against the Chiefs, that double coverage. Like, yeah, I want that one. Yeah, I want him to go get the ball against double coverage, because because Derek can put it there, and also he can go get it. Like, that wasn't even. It looked like a nowhere play, and then he turned it into a non-contested catch. Like, he just put his hand up and said, "Hey, let's throw the ball as far as you can." So I'm with you on that. Like, I'm looking at these names and I'm saying, like, yeah, I would take Stingley. I would take Petry if they were available for the Raiders. But everybody else, man, like, put him in motion, put him in the slot, like, get him all over the field. Don't give him any reverses, but and if I see Derek with the little pitch out, the little option out play again, that's gonna drive me crazy as well too. I don't want to see any of that. But yeah, just run the football. It'll be opportunities will be there. But yes, obviously you have opportunities with with um with him to make some plays all over the place as far as that goes.
Yeah, and I'm not scared of any. I mean, Jerry Hughes is still an effective pass rusher. I'm not scared of any of these pass rushers. Jonathan
Yeah.
Greenyard, Malik Collins is hurt. We've seen Malik Collins,
Yes.
Roy Lopez, Jerry Hughes, like former Trojan Rasheem Green. But like, there's no one on this defense that's an elite pass rusher. There's not a linebacker on this team that's a really good cover guy. And they're playing a couple of rookies and a couple, fringe type defenders in their starting secondary. And then when they go nickel, they're bringing in Desmond King, who can't run anymore. So it's like, there's no reason. I know they play hard and they tackle well and it's a good scheme, but the Raiders should carve this defense up.
What's the if the Raiders offense got pulled over and they had to show their ID, what's their ID here for this team? What's their identification? What do they can what would be on their be on that situation? Because I don't know what the idea of this of this offense is right now. I feel like when they want to really do some things, he wants to throw the football. So because I think there's moments where he could just keep running it, and like in tough situations, he just ends up throwing it. But right now it looks like it should be kind of running the football and playing off of that. But you think it's more of a game to game thing? I know we've seen game to game from the defensive coordinator, but offensive coordinator, I'm not sure if we kind of see that part of it. I just want to see more of like that. I don't know, maybe I don't know, Belichick's offense, I guess. I mean, I kind of thought that was going to be kind of the case, but we're not seeing a lot of that with the Raiders right now.
I know what we want it to be. We want it to be explosive, down the field passing, but they really haven't had Waller or Renfro a ton lately. So it's become more of this physical, run the football power game, which they're built to do. We want them to be versatile and be able to do both. But right now, I'm not sure they have the ability to do that. And they face some pretty good teams, some good secondaries that are be able to double guys. This is kind of the first week where they're not facing a great pass rushing team. They're not a good run stopping team. And they're really young on the back end. So the Raiders should be able to do anything they want in this game. Ideally, we want them to be, like I said, multiple and versatile to where if they play a team that has a vulnerable secondary, they can light up the air for 350 yards. If they play a team that can't stop the run and you want to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, you want to keep, the other quarterbacks off the field, you can run the football. So I think that's where they're trying to get.
Yeah.
But the offensive line hasn't allowed them to do that. I do think there's a good chance that you're going to see Munford play right tackle in this game coming off the bye. I think it's been, 4 preseason games. We're now in week 7 of this season. They're coming off the bye. You have Foster Moreau, so you have an inline tight end. You don't need to really go 6 linemen. I think if you're going to do it, this is kind of the stretch to do it, and put him in there and see what he can do. Because I don't think we're through the gauntlet of pass rushers at this point. So I'm not worried about him lining up 1-on-1 against Bradley Chubb, Randy Gregory, Chris Jones moving out there. Like those kind of guys are gone for the next couple of weeks. So obviously Cam Jordan's next week, but I think this is the game where you're going to see that. Or maybe they rotate again where, the right tackle every other series. But I'd like to see Mumford get a little bit more involved here. Although Jermaine Illuminor had some really good some run blocking reps last week. But I'm with you. The 6 offensive lineman is good for, when you need it now and again. You can't do it every week because now you're running 2- and 3-man routes against 7 defenders. And it's just, guys are just not going to get open. It's going to take too long.
Yeah, exactly. Makes a whole lot of sense. As far as that goes. Joey wants to know if the Raiders can go 3-0 in the next 3 games. Who's gonna be the biggest reason why? For me, it would probably. I think it's gonna be a combination of like player and coach. I just feel like it's gonna be this coach is finally getting things clicking on offense the way he wants it to. I think that would be huge. And I think also it'll be Carr Adams, and then Chandler Jones would be a guy who I would look at too. Because if Chandler Jones comes off that, if they can get in the 3rd and longs, and they got into some 3rd and longs, they get in the 3rd and longs, and they're able to get more pressure on the quarterback, not just rushing 3 or are not we're not doing things to get Max Crosby free because he's getting double teamed. I think they're probably going to double team Max and then like give the one-on-one coverage, the one-on-one blocking to Chandler Jones. I mean, he got to eat. I mean, I thought he played well in the first half against the Chiefs, but we just need a little bit more.
Can they go 3-0? They can. Do I foresee it? I'm going to say 2-1. Those back-to-back 10 a.m. games in New Orleans and at Jacksonville, I'd love to see him win both of those. I haven't seen this team play 60 minutes yet, so it's hard for me to say
exactly
that they're going to go on the road and they're going to slow down Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave. And, if the Saints run out the lineup they had today, absolutely. But if they start getting some of those starters back, they have good pass rushers in Cam Jordan. They have Marcus Davenport. If they get Lattimore back, if they get Michael Thomas back, they have Alvin Kamara. It's not a layup game like people think it is. Can they go on the road and win at Jacksonville? Yeah, I think they can do that. So I would say 2-1. But if they're going to go 3-0, it's absolutely because of Derek Carr. Derek Carr at this point, he's not going to have a top 10 or 15 defense. That's pretty much what we got to. He's going to have to carry this team at this point. He's going to have to throw 3 or 4 touchdowns. He's going to have to put the ball in the end zone and the red zone. It can't be, well, we need to run the ball. He's got the number 1 running game the last 2 weeks. Like, they have to start scoring 27, 28, 30 points. I know Raider fans don't want to hear that, but the money and the investment on this team is on the offense. They're playing a bunch of young guys on defense other than Chandler Jones. If they're going to go 3-0, it's because the offense starts clicking, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think also too, when the defense does give you the football, and you only need a field goal, and you got Daniel Carlson, like, let's get that field goal and go home. Let's call ball game and go win that game. Gus is the guy who's from Australia, wants to know, when is it on McDaniels? I'm like, it's
when? I think it already is.
I think it is right now, cousin. Like, I mean, I think it is right now. Like, I mean, you can't. I mean, he is. This team is. I mean, they felt like they kind of eased their way into the Cardinal game. The Chargers game. The Cardinals game should have been in the bag. I mean, that's on his offense. I mean, I think. I mean, as much as Kyler Murray was crazy in that fourth quarter, I felt like they didn't score 15 points until 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Like, you got to put that game on. That game can't be even a game. Like, it shouldn't have been nothing. And as bad as they played it against the Chargers, they had the ball with a chance to go win it on a drive. Same thing with the Chiefs, the 2-point conversion that some people agree with. I think both of us disagree with in Kansas City. Tie the game at that point. The whole thing with Kuntz, which was obviously a game plan to kind of do those things, and those are all coaching as well too. So with all the mishaps, they've been in every game with an opportunity to win. So they're gonna look at the guy who has the visor on, and I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, back to my prior question about if they go 3-0, it's because of Carr. That's with the understanding that Waller and Renfro are back within the next week or two. If those guys miss multiple games, I don't see 3-0. But on the Josh McDaniels question, it's absolutely, at this point, it's on Josh McDaniels. They were a playoff team. And for me, the whole mess with the offensive line, that is on Dave Ziegler, and that is absolutely on Josh McDaniels. 100%. It's the same line they went into last season. Everyone knew that it was a problem. They invested, and they went out and they paid Renfro. They went out and they gave up valuable draft picks to bring in Adams, which is a great move. Don't get me wrong. But, then they kind of left the cupboard bare lots of the offensive line and just said, hey, we're going to coach these guys up. Everyone forgets right now, they literally thought Brandon Parker was going to be the starter. And then they thought Alex Leatherwood was going to be the starter. Yeah. And then they cut Alex Bars, and now he's a starter. And they thought John Simpson was going to be a starter, and he's basically been a healthy scratch. And they can't figure out what they're doing on the offensive line. And it's actually hurting the offense because they're having to do the 6 linemen. They're having to keep in extra guys to block because they can't give Carr enough time to get the ball to his weapons. Josh McDaniels can't call the offense he wants to call and open it up because he's having to keep all these guys in for protection. And you know who that falls on? That goes right to Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels. So he can't have it both ways. He's the one that went into the season with this offensive line. He went through the offseason with it. He went into the season with $16 million in cap room, and they decided, you know what? We're just not going to upgrade it. So he can't cry about it now. This is all his making. He didn't lose 3 starters that were, average, above average, or Pro Bowl level caliber, and now they're running out scraps. These are the guys he literally went into the OTAs with. So this is completely on Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, and he had opportunity. Maybe that was a mouthful. I love that. I cut that one up for Twitter. Especially like as far as like just like you had all the opportunities to improve the team. You didn't. Like it doesn't make any sense because you could have maybe one of these deals. Hey, listen, we got to get you next year. We got to fix the offensive line. Like, you know what I'm saying? That conversation, those are tough conversations to have with a guy like a Waller, like a Renfro. But maybe that's what should have been said instead of just reeing up everybody. Like, I know that was the quote unquote plan by Derek, and hey, Devontae, take this so we can go ahead and pay this guy, pay that guy, and all that stuff like that. Have the offense together. Well, now the offense is hurt, and they haven't played together the last couple of weeks. And when they have, they're running into each other in Kansas City because they haven't played together yet. So to me, those are conversations that they should have had. And if somebody was disgruntled, all I heard was about this team was that all these guys are just about winning. Everybody's just about winning. So what was the rush to go ahead and re-up everybody when obviously they just needed a couple. You can't get 5 and 4 offensive linemen in one off season, but you could have got solidified the right tackle, so you could have brought people along slowly and developed people. Parham is developing, it just take time doing those things. And maybe when you did a six offensive lineman with Munford, it was out of luxury, trying to hold the lead, not out of necessity. Like, you know what I'm saying?
No, definitely. They clearly, most NFL teams build inside out with the lines. And the Raiders went into this offseason and they built from the outside in. You could argue on both offense and defense, other than the Chandler Jones signing, but they didn't build the defensive tackle room. They just got a bunch of guys off the scrap heap and drafted, a couple guys in the 4th and 5th round. Same thing on the offense. They went out and got a 3rd rounder and a 7th rounder, and they thought, yeah, we're good. They spent all their money on the outside. The Raiders brought in, Rock Ya-Sin. They go get Harmon a starting safety. They bring in Jayon Brown. Like, they're building the back 7, but they never really fortified the front, the 4 defensive linemen, especially in this scheme where you're going to need multiple bodies.
Yeah.
And we go through the training camp and it's all about, they have all this depth at defensive end. You have Bauer showed out in preseason. You have Kuntz. You have Farrell. You have Jones. You have
no snaps.
Crosby. And then when the lights turn on, where are those guys? They're not even playing. Kuntz has gotten some run. I know there's a lot of love for him on Twitter. He's been playing the last 2 games and hasn't really done anything, but everyone wants to just discard that because he got a sack in the preseason. We all want him to be great because he's from Buffalo and we want to live that dream again. He's getting some opportunities and not doing a ton with it right now the last couple of weeks. So he's going to have the ball when he gets his 12, 15, 20 snaps. They're not taking Chandler Jones off the field. So Kuntz is going to have to get his when he gets his. That's just the way it's going to be. So I think from a roster management perspective, I think that they erred in the offseason by just not addressing the offensive line or the defensive tackle spot. And everybody knew that was going to be the issue.
Jerome wants to know, he had one question about what to do with Waller. It was one question. And he said, if you had to do it all over again, would you could only have one, Mack or Adams? And do it all over again. If you had to read Khalil Mack, trade the 1st rounder, get Mack, or get Devontae Adams. Which one would you get?
I'd rather have Adams at this point. Yeah. I mean, because I have Max Crosby.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, I want the number
score.
1 wide receiver.
You gotta score.
Yeah.
You gotta score.
So I don't miss the days of James Jones and Rod Streeter running around out there.
Yeah. You don't want to sprinkle a little.
No offense to those guys. I'm just saying, we're talking about a top 3 wide receiver, and it could be the best wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah. You don't miss Zay Jones or anybody like that? You want to rekindle some of those? Andre Holmes? No those?
Johnny Lee Higgins available? What's he up to?
Johnny Lee Higgins. Like,
that's Chaz Chillins out there.
Remember that touchdown against the Broncos, and then everybody's jumping up and down after that touchdown. Then we didn't score again the rest of the game. No, that was
Murphy.
Louis
No, I
Murphy.
mean, that's an interesting question, but I would rather have Adams and Crosby than Mack and whoever you want to name at wide receiver.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that one. Picking the game. Before we pick the game, we got Jayon Brown, Hollins, Moreau, all limited, and then did not practice the last couple of days. Looks like Waller and Renfro. Not a lot of big names on that other side. I think Brandon Cooks is just like he's the biggest name, and he had rest. Rest situation. Everybody else is just they should be pretty healthy as far as the Texans go. But who you picking in this game here, Ryan? The Raiders and Texans, 1 p.m. Pacific time.
The Raiders have to win this game. I'm looking at points per game. Houston is averaging 17.2 points a game. If Houston scores 24 to 27 points in this game, then something went drastically wrong. If the Raiders can just hold them to their average or even a field goal over to 20, they win this game. These are the worst offense in the league until you get to Houston. Denver, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Washington, Carolina, Houston. Like, that's the caliber of offense they're playing here. So the Raiders can't turn the ball over, run the football, or spread them out and get the ball to Adams in the middle of the field. I think I'm going to take the Raiders to win this. I think they're going to get 2 turnovers. I'm going to call 3 sacks. I'm going to say they win pretty comfortably. I'm going to say 27-17.
17. Okay. Early in this week, I texted Ryan. I said I'm going to pick the Texans to win the game, and then
That's a fact. You did.
I did. So I'm going to change my mind on that one. I do think was the spread of 7.
7, yeah.
7. So I'm going to stick with the fact that as far as covering goes, I think that the Texans cover. I don't think the Raiders can be, you mentioned it, they haven't played 60 minutes yet. So I'm not going to say, hey, go ahead and pick them to beat somebody. Beat somebody and play because they haven't played a full game yet. I think, Raiders win 24-21. I think at some point they might come together and they might really click and get things going. But until I see Patrick Graham, who I love, be completely aggressive for a whole game, until I see this coaching staff, on offense get more consistent and just be better. I mean, I'm watching Indy Dalton throw the ball down the field right now, and I can't see the Raiders do it. So I want to see that first before I feel comfortable picking them. But this is going to be this should be a win for the Raiders. It was a win for the Raiders when the season started. So hopefully that they can win this game. And then I think the next coming up after that, they have to start becoming they've been miserable on the road. They have been found every way to lose on the road, even though these games are close. They gotta get the road thing going as well. So Raiders win 24-21, and you got them by 10, 27.
27-17.
17. So we'll see what happens there. But like this is the perfect opportunity for a get right game. I do think it's weird though that they have a bye and they play a team that's on a bye. And then next week they play a team that is coming off a Thursday night. But they play the Saints next, right?
Yeah.
So the Saints have like a mini bye as far as that goes, and look for some really key players from the Saints to come back next week. I know Michael Thomas and some of those really big players have been missing games, but I mean I would definitely be careful about going to the Saint game thinking that they're terrible. If the Raiders win, they'll be 2-4. Cool. Anything else?
And I would add, it's Dennis Allen revenge game. He's a head coach. He probably wants to stick it to the Raiders. They still have very good players on defense. They still have Demario Davis. They have Tyrann Matthews down there now. They have Marshawn Lattimore. They have Cam Jordan. Like the cupboard is not bare on defense down there. So by no means are the Raiders just going to walk down there and blow them out. I think for this Houston team, like I said, and you brought it up with Patrick Graham, I think there's been stretches for halves of games where he's been really aggressive and it's worked. But there hasn't been a game where he's been aggressive for 60 minutes. And then when he takes his foot off the pedal and then you start seeing, the 3-man rushes, going to a lot of zone. I think losing Nate Hobbs, this is going to really tell me a lot about how much belief Patrick Graham has on the rest of these guys. If they just start zoning it up and playing cover 4 and giving up on all the other knee stuff, I'm going to have a lot of questions on what's going to happen because they're going to be in for a dogfight if they just let this team dump the ball off to the backs, throw the ball to the tight end in the intermediate area, and then run the ball. So I want to see run blitzes. I want to see them get really aggressive, especially if they get into 3rd and long. And stop rushing 3 because, Laramie Tunsil's still over there. Green, the guard, is a good player.
Exactly.
The right side of the offensive line over there is kind of a mess, but you can't let Davis Mills get back. He's a pocket guy. It's been a while since the Raiders have faced a quarterback that's not going to move around. They're going to know where he's at, attacking. Now's when you bring the blitzes. Diablo, where are you? Diablo, find the quarterback out. I don't want to see Diablo blitzing and slowing down and playing patty cake with the running back. Blow a dude up, run through his face.
Yeah.
Jonathan Abram. I don't know if he has a sack in his career. We hear about Abram blitzing all the time.
Exactly.
Let's go. Let's get home. Let's make a play.
I want to see in this game. I don't want to see. I want in the first quarter. All I want to see is 14-0 Raiders with the Texans have the ball at the 20-yard line. Plix is going nuts, and I want to see that drive. That's the drive I want to see, and I want to see the Raiders kind of just stay aggressive, and then kind of take it to them, and kind of just try to end the game early. Like get out early.
Don't kick field goals once you go up 14.
Yeah,
like you did against Arizona.
Yeah, seriously. That's like that's crazy.
All
right.
You want to do your picks for this week? Did you get 3 games?
I got 3 games, but we could do 3 games, yeah. Because I was gonna do. I got games, but I was gonna wait till a little bit later and then post them to Twitter. But we can do them now.
Yeah, we can do them real quick.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna keep flying with the Dirty Birds. I keep picking them. They keep covering. So I like Atlanta +7 at Cincinnati. I don't think they win the game, but give me the touchdown. I'll take the Browns at Baltimore, 6.5 division game. The Browns run the ball really well. Baltimore's kind of been a mess on defense the last couple of weeks. They've had trouble scoring touchdowns. They have some offensive weapons out for Baltimore. So I like Baltimore to win the game, but give me Cleveland on the points. And I'm going to take the Jets Jets. It's basically a pick 'em. It's +0.5 point. I think they go into Denver. I don't know if Russell Wilson plays this week. If they run Mark Rippon out there, I know Denver's got a good defense. The Jets are playing some pretty good football right now. As long as the quarterback doesn't turn the ball over, I like the Jets to go into Denver and cover 0.5 point. So I pick them to win the game. Even if Russell Wilson plays, I think they win the game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with let's see here. I did have my game. Never mind that one. Let me go. Let me ride.
Don't say Broncos. Let's ride.
Let's ride. Let me go with the Texans to cover. The 7. I'm gonna go with Jacksonville. Like kind of a last stand for Jacksonville. They're gonna be pretty bad if they don't win this game. I'm gonna go with this. That's what I was looking for. I'm going with Seattle. Seattle is what's the line on that Seattle game?
Who are they playing?
They're playing the Chargers at the Chargers.
I want to say it's 5.
It's 5.
Maybe 5. It might be 5.5.
5. So I'm gonna go with Seattle. They've been good they've been pretty at it all year, and you chronicled the draft class as well. That's the 3rd one. And I think I don't know.
5.5. Yeah.
5.5 for a bonus one. I really do like. I mean, how do you not like New England this week? I just feel like. I mean, they got nothing going on in Chicago, so I like the Patriots game. The Patriots and I love KC this week as well too. So, I would
gave
say
us a 5-pack.
Yeah, 5-pack. But I'm gonna stay with the 4, and I'm gonna go with the Patriots at the end.
So 7.5. Pat's minus 7.5.
Yeah, I just don't see it. I don't see how they're gonna even score in this game.
I mean, all these games in the NFL are within 8 points. So, like, I'm at the point now where just start giving me points, and if hopefully I get some backdoor covers.
Yeah, especially
these favorites aren't winning.
Yeah, I could see the Texans just being a backdoor cover. I could see the game being just like the way you have it, 27, and then they just score a late field goal or
a late touchdown.
A late touchdown to kind of cut into that lead, but the Raiders still kind of control the game as far as that goes. So, all right, Raider Nation. Hopefully, when we talk again on our rapid response program, the Raiders will be 2-4, and they won't be 1-5. 1-5 would be a death. It would be horrible to watch. But I do think they have a good chance to win this week. So, And you mentioned not facing quarterbacks who move around. 2 weeks in a row, you don't face a quarterback who moves around. So with this game and Andy Dalton or Winston, those both of those guys are not really great at moving around. So the Raiders have opportunity to kind of get that pass rush on and popping as far as that goes. They have 8 sacks, and six of them are by 98. So we got to get some more people involved in the sack game with the Raiders.
Yeah, and I need to stop looking at mock drafts on October 20th. So let's please get a win, get out of that 2 spot, start moving down towards the middle of the pack before they make a run. But they just need to win.
Yeah, and then that to that point with the draft, I mean, like every time people are DMing me immediately after the Tennessee game. Oh, the hooker. Oh, DRT. Oh, Caleb Williams. Oh, every draft quarterback you get when your team is 1-5. So hopefully that doesn't.
So Hooker, I watched a little bit of Hooker last week.
What do you think? What do you think about Hooker?
He's 25 years old. I
didn't realize
he was so old.
Who? I always forget his name. Who's the quarterback? Who was older? Brandon Wheaton. You get Wheaton.
Yeah. Well, he played baseball and he went to Oklahoma State. He was 28, if I remember correctly. Old, yeah. Browns took him, but I see a lot of Geno Smith and Hooker when I watch him. Mm-hmm. Bigger guy, 6'4". He's got some arm talent. Moves around okay, better than you think. He's not a burner. He's not Michael Vick, but he moves okay. To me, that's 25. Age is probably not a huge issue with a quarterback, but I kind of want to, as much as I like him, I kind of probably think that's going to push him second, third round. I don't see him going in the first round. He'd be a nice guy, if you can get your hands on him, but if it's going to sit behind Carr for 2 or 3 years and now he's 28 or 29 before he gets his chance, I don't know if I'd go that route.
Yeah.
So as much as I liked him 2 weeks ago when I was texting you about him, it's like, the more I look at him, the more I'm just like, I don't know. I
like DRT. He reminds me, he's like more of an explosive version of Jalen Hurts, because he's more of a make you miss, opposed to like Jalen Hurts can just run over you. I like him a lot, and obviously this is a USC thing, but I just think Caleb is going to be a star in the National Football League. I just love what he does for that team, and his capability is fantastic, and his deep ball, his intermediate ball, and stuff like that. The check with me stuff at the line of scrimmage. I think all that stuff is really good. But I will we'll put that in the back burner because it's Raiders Texans. The Raiders are going to win. I'm not going to talk about draft. I'm not going to talk about draft prospects just yet. I'm going to save that for later.
I would add briefly. Wouldn't it be great if the pick the Seahawks got from the Broncos for Wilson, and now the Broncos are stuck in that contract, turns out to be like C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young by some stroke of magic?
Yeah, Young is the best guy for me in this class. I gain a lot of respect for him after watching that Texas game. I thought that was I love games like that where you don't have anything going on and you still find a way to win. So we'll see what happens there.
All right, that's enough draft talk.
All right, that's it. Peace.
All right,
all right, Brandon.
Take care.
Take care.
Go Raiders.
Go.